Today's feature recipe is called it's a tater tot made out of cauliflower. It's a nice bite-sized snack. You can serve it as a side dish along with a hamburger. It's a wonderful replacement for that starchy potato that has a nasty habit of raising our blood sugars. So today is the cauliflower. If you'll notice, this cauliflower, it's a nice, dense, packed in head. You've got the greens still around and intact. This is a way you would like to pick it out when you are at the grocery store. The tighter the head, the better the texture and the better the flavor. The greens actually indicate a freshness. So you want to make sure that you have greens still intact. All right, so when dealing with the cauliflower, the best thing to do first is to make sure once you cut this dense stem and green off, to rinse it upside down. That way it's taking all the dirt out and not in. When you're dealing with removing the greens, I like to best take it off by hand. And it will present a dense stem, very similar to that of the cabbage, but a little bit easier in my opinion once you get rid of the green that surrounds it, because then the wonderful thing about this is you take your knife, you slice it in, take it around, pop, it's gone. So it's a wonderful way to do that. So now you have your head, you have a couple extra greens. Make sure you remove those. You don't want to put any greens in your recipes. Remember, when picking it out, you want a nice, good, creamy white color. Try to avoid the browns. If you do have a little bit of brown, no waste. Remember, we don't waste. We don't waste. So you just want to kind of shave it off. Oops. Give it a shave to knock off the bad spots so that they don't get added into your dish. So that's how you can preserve if you just have a few spots on your dish. So let's get rid of this here. So in this recipe, you're going to need 2 cups of grated cauliflower. Each head this size is approximately 4 cups. So you basically just want to use half of it. The best way I can tell you to do this is to start breaking off the flora. And they just kind of pop off. See how they just kind of like pop right off? Do that for half of it. You don't have to cut these. A lot of people think they need to cut it. You don't need to cut it. What you're wanting, you can just pop it off and the dense, unedible stem stays behind. So, let me get this one. That one's a little bit tougher, so I'm going to have to use a knife to get to that one because it's a little bit thicker of a stem. All right, I think that's another thick one. All right, so that's about a half of my head. I went on the outside, kept this. You can keep this fresh in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks in a brown paper bag. I've tested it, it's proven, it works. So you can keep this fresh in a paper bag for up to 2 weeks. You can also use a plastic bag, just poke some holes in it so it gets some air in it, but keeps it a little bit fresher for a longer period of time. So, when you're working with grating a cauliflower, it is kind of a messy job, but it's rewarding in the end. So I put a bowl with my grater. You could have a grater that actually, I got hair on my face, that actually has a box and that collects it for you. If you don't have one, just use a grater and catch it all in the bowl. Grate it as best as you can. Now some pieces are going to be chunky. You can just pick those ones right back up and start grating it again. So let's talk about how wonderful and nutrient dense your cauliflower is. It is a white, vegetable, which means great for cancer prevention. It also is very packed with your vitamin C. Vitamin C, remember, that is for healing. That's for your immunity. It's for helping your cells rejuvenate. It's a healing vitamin. And then you have manganese. And now manganese, that's a big word, and a lot of people haven't heard of the term manganese. But as a science teacher, yes, it is an element on the periodic table. It's a very important mineral to our diet because it actually jogs your metabolism. It actually gets the ability for your body to take the food and make it energy. So it's a really important part in our diet. It helps our bones, it helps our immune system, and it's great for our brain. Also, you've heard B complex. B complex, there's so many different vitamins. There's a B3, there's a B6, there's a B9, there's a B12. But if you have a B complex, that means you have all represented. And that's a great one. You ever feel tired and like can't sleep? You're fatigued, your B complexes are low. So this helps very much so in keeping that fatigue down. It helps your mood. It makes you feel better about yourself. It lifts up your spirits. It has an ability within your brain and your brain chemistries to make you feel good. It also, B complexes your hair, your skin. You want that glowing, healthy hair and skin. Make sure your B complexes are in your diet. Now, you've heard me talk about the importance of potassium, and potassium is actually in cauliflower. And again, that's your balancing your fluids. It's making sure your blood pressures are down. It's helping your muscles contract. It's helping in all kinds of ways in that heart health. We're trying to keep our blood pressure down, our heart muscles healthy. And believe it or not, that balance of fluids helps your kidneys. So think of all the wonderful organs that you're protecting while you're eating a cauliflower. It helps you all the way down to the cellular level. I'm talking down to your itty bitty trillion cells in your body, but it actually gets down in there, and it's called the mitochondria. I'm getting in my science a little bit here, but it's good information for you to know. Each cell has mitochondria, and mitochondria is our powerhouse. It is where your sugars and your foods are converted to energy. And actually, this does a wonderful job in helping your body do that. All right, so let's get this last one graded. There are so many ways you can cook this. Today we're doing it in a very different way. A lot of people just roast them, they steam them, they eat them raw, which is all okay. But let's try this just a little bit differently, okay? So this is approximately 2 cups of shredded. You'll notice that it's nice and fine, not too clumpy, all right? Let me wipe my hands off here. So now that we have this, it's all about dumping in this point. You're gonna need yourself an egg, low-fat cheddar cheese, 3 tablespoons of flour, and some black pepper for flavoring. Notice, did I put any salt in here? We're trying to avoid salt in our diet. By using black pepper, we are adding a spice that enhances the flavor and draws out a flavoring that doesn't require us to use salt in our foods. All right, so this is going to get a little messy, but it's a lot of fun. All right, so taking your egg, your flour, some pepper, and this is where I'm going to go. You can use a cup of cheese, a half a cup of cheese, but let's do, and I'm going to guesstimate, and it's okay sometimes when you're cooking to give it a guess, to add some of your own flavors. But a little bit cheesier of the cauliflower tots, mwah, delicious. So I guess that's about a half a cup. I'm gonna put a little bit of extra in, no extra pinch. All right, so taking your spoon, break up that egg, and get it all mixed in there. Very simple, very easy, very simple. That flour will bind. It will become a binding agent with the proteins in your egg. So you want to get that all mixed in there nice and neat. If you notice, it looks wet, but if I press my spoon down to it, now it's not fluffy. Now it's kind of like sticking to the bowl a little bit and flattening out. That's just enough moisture to make them into little itty bitty balls. You can make them into tubes. You can make them into a ball. I'm just going to make them into a little round, tight tot. All right. Get some of that goodiness out of there. Now, you can spray your pan with a cooking spray. That works just as well, but to save cleaning time, I'm going to use parchment paper. Parchment paper is not that expensive. It's about the same price as a wax paper or a clear wrap. Holidays is a great time to get it on sale. So the trick to getting the lay fat, sprinkle it up. And notice how it stays down. So that's a wonderful tip when you're working with parchment paper. All right, so now that we have a nice mixed up batter with our grated cauliflower, an egg, some flour, a little bit of pepper, if you ever run into an issue where it feels dry and not holding together, you can add another egg. It's probably there's an imbalance. Remember, I didn't measure, so that could be, I might have had a little bit extra. All right, so now make yourself up some about an inch size ball. Get them packed in. They don't have to be super tight if you notice. That once they bake in the oven, that egg and that protein and that flour will bind it up and keep it together. Now, let's talk about all the different ways, again, in regards to eating cauliflower. Because have you ever heard of cauliflower pizza crust? This recipe can be used that way. You can flatten this out into a disc shape, square shape, about a half an inch thick. Cook it for the same amount of time, 400 for about 20 minutes, and you have yourself a cauliflower pizza crust. It is a delicious way, a healthy way to replace those starches in our foods. It's a great replacer for flour and for potatoes. Has anybody ever taken a cauliflower, sliced it so straight down, leaving the stem and everything, put it on a cookie sheet, put it in the oven at 400 for 15 minutes, sprinkle it with any seasoning you want. You can try cumin, you could put a little paprika on it, you could try some Cajun pepper, whatever you would like to season with, and take it out, and I call it my cauliflower steak. It is absolutely delicious. It gives you another way in which you can cook a cauliflower other than the boiling, the steaming, the raw. Now you have two different ways to make it. You can make yourself a tot, or you could actually make yourself a roasted cauliflower steak. Now it's time to get this into the oven. You want to cook at 400 for 20 minutes. Please be mindful about 15 minutes in to check them. There we go, and then we'll keep those in there for 20 minutes. All right, so let's go check on those cauliflower tots that we've had in for 20 minutes. You want them to be a nice golden brown. Oh, look at those. Don't they look delicious? All right. So take this over here. There we go. Look at that. So if you're looking for a way to lower your blood sugars and get away from those starchy foods, making cauliflower tots are a beautiful way to do that. It replaces the potato with a more nutrient-dense food. Look at that. Delicious. A cheesy, beautiful, healthy tot. For a great side dish, you could have it with a burger, you could have it with some ham or some fish.